Thanks, Ash, and welcome back, and excited to be on this call. And we are over 3.5 hours in and still looking at 200 folks, and over 300 people have come in and out. We've got 500 registered. So we are in a moment of base building and connecting to you all. And we're building on many, many years of this work. And again, shout out to Brenda for bringing us back to basics, back to the fundamentals, back to what we know we need to do in this moment, even though this moment is different, unprecedented, and some uncharted territories. So I'm gonna screen share and walk us through just a quick bit about the Southern Movement Action Plan. And talk us through so that we can kind of do this together. Because today we're breaking out into frontline groups, and we're excited about that. And thanks Annie and folks for putting in the groups that they're excited about joining today. We know that we might want to be in multiple groups. We'll pick the one we can really throw down on today, and we'll stay, of course, connected through this. The Southern Movement Action Plan 2020 was developed by all of us, by the base of the Southern Movement Assembly, when we met and gathered in Mississippi in mid-November of last year, of 2019. And we brought together over almost 300 participants from 90 different organizations. And we got a sense of what was happening on these landscapes well before this particular disaster and pandemic. And really that what we're up against in Puerto Rico, in the Caribbean, in the global South, across the world, in Appalachia, in the Gulf South, in the Deep South, and across the region. And so we were able to split up into the Southern People's Initiatives. And I'll just start here. This is our visionary framework. This is what we're going to be advancing no matter where we're at in the disaster phases. We want to continue to be advancing a new social economy. We want to continue to build a people's democracy and practice it at every level. And we want to be able to build up our skills and capacity to protect and defend our communities. The Southern People's Initiative is overlapping. It is a framework. It connects us across issues, geographies, and generations. And it was launched 5 years ago. And it represents the synthesis of collective thinking across the assemblies and all the action steps that we've been taking. So the 2020 goals are to organize, and these stand even now, to organize local and regional actions that connect our communities and impact multiple front lines, to advance the Southern People's Initiative, and to exercise our power and expand a base of Southern movements, and really be that force to be reckoned with. So while we were there at the assembly, we built a timeline and we cut it into quarters. So we're at the tail end of Q1. We've been building skills and learning together. This intensive represents a massive way to gain skills, and Brenda's contributions to all of our understanding of community organizing and the fundamentals has just skyrocketed us forward in terms of our skills and our commitment to community organizing, and not just mobilizing, but using that as a tactic in a much longer term vision for transformation. This, in fact, is the 10th year of the intensives, of the organizing intensives, where we've come together to build skills and learn. So that's incredible. And we started with maybe 25 folks from around the region to learn and grow their skills and work together throughout the next season. But now here we are, and we're looking at 200 folks. We're looking at hundreds of organizations and groups that are a part of this. And we are coming together to learn skills today, but we are launching the Southern Spring, which starts April 1st. So Southern Spring is the action campaign that we've been building towards. It's gonna have to change shape and transform because of our conditions, and we know how to pivot. And now with Brenda's elements and tools for community organizing, we know we need to investigate what is happening, what is new, what is different, what do we need to anticipate, how do we need to understand the enemy at play, the landscape that we're on that's changing day to day, how do we make this pivot as organizers, and how do we do it together collectively as community leaders and folks who are accountable and responsible to our folks back home. So that's what we're going to be moving into for the most part today. And I'll stop this share. And so we will be getting together along these frontline groups to plan our actions for the 90 days of Southern Spring. So the 90 days starts April 1st, goes through June 30th. And we know on a very basic level, we want to gather our people. We know that now we might have to do that virtually, but we still want to get our people together in our different groups, in our different communities, with our families. And we want to join our actions, these actions that we have laid out and that we're going to lay out more of today. We want to initiate actions and share them with each other. And we want to connect and coordinate to really show our force from the South. So all of those will be at play, and the Southern Movement Assembly will be a space where we can connect, coordinate, share, and support each other. Because this is a new moment, and our folks need to hear from us. We need to be doing that other level of education, that number 2 element of community organizing. We need our folks to know what's going on, what they need to watch out for. And specifically, we need to use our framework of resist and build. We might need to resist some of the onslaught that's coming at us in terms of the exploitation of this moment, not getting enough resources to our folks, voter suppression. We know land grabs happen. We know food is gonna be an issue that we need to contend with, housing. But we also want to build. This is an opportunity to shift our actions and shift our thinking into a build framework that we can organize with our communities and coordinate across the region. So I'm gonna, just if there's any ideas of actions happening around the region, Ashley, I might toss it back to you, and then we're gonna hear a little bit more detail about these groups. We have 7 breakout groups across these front lines. We have some incredible facilitators who are organizers on the ground, who are gonna move us through these frontline breakout groups. And we're gonna bring back action strategies for this moment. We know that our long-term vision is the Southern People's Initiative. We know that we're shooting for not just the end of this year, but towards 2021. We're in the midst of a massive national election. We're in the midst of a national emergency that's being called, that's giving the current president tons more power than he should have. We know that things are gonna change day to day, week to week, month to month. But we have to keep that long-term vision and our eyes on the horizon of 2021. What we decided when we were together in the assembly is that no matter what, we have to create a People's First 100 Days campaign, a full-on Southern set of actions for 2021. So this year is to build and show our force in Southern Spring, to come together with People's Movement Assemblies in the 3rd quarter. That might have to be virtual now. We want to convene the Southern Movement Assembly 9 after the elections. We don't know exactly how that will look. We will continue to pivot and continue to investigate and continue to understand what the landscape is so that we can make those decisions collectively together, like we made the decision to pivot the intensive and expand our reach. So throughout this year, we will hit these benchmarks. One of the biggest benchmarks that we have every month is a general membership assembly call. We can join that membership assembly call today. It's going to be March 25th. This is going to be when we really launch out the Southern Spring actions. This is our Southern Movement response to a global emergency. And we want you all to rejoin us for that 1 hour on Wednesday, March 25th. And we'll continue to put those links into the chat and make sure folks can get signed up for these monthly last Wednesday of the month calls, where we can really share, coordinate, connect, and break this isolation over and over again. So that is our year's action plan that leads us to a strong place to launch the People's First 100 Days in 2021. But right now, we're talking about Southern Spring. So Southern Spring is this set of actions that starts April 1st, which is National Census Day. So there's a whole frontline breakout just on that, and goes through the summer into June 30th. And we will have a call that really reflects all this back to the world, what we did, how we did it, connect and with everybody else and all the other formations that are in motion right now and working to protect our folks. So I'll shift it back to Ashley, and then Vahisha will walk us through these breakout groups. We'll break out. We'll have an hour and 15 minutes in these groups to generate action strategies and hear more about the specific front lines, and then we'll come back to this large group and share those action strategies with each other.
Weird. Thank you, Steph G, the OG. So how many of y'all are like, whoa, we planned a lot? Yeah. Are you spinning? It's cool. It's totally cool. Because what we know is, again, we had like 3 days to come up with a year-long plan, right? So we just shared that year-long plan with you in like a very concise way. So it's no shade if you're spinning. What we're going to do is exactly what Stephanie said. We're going to focus in on what are we going to do for the next 90 days, right? What are we going to do for the next 90 days? And we were pulling from our comrades all over the planet who have been having all these amazing uprisings in the spring and summer of years past, right? So some of y'all might have heard of Arab Spring, like in Egypt, right? Some of y'all might have been inspired or even participated in the uprisings that ousted a governor in Puerto Rico, right? Some of y'all might have been watching what's been happening, the fight for democracy and all of its contradictions in Hong Kong, right? And some of y'all may have been inspired by some of the later resistance movements that were led by young people, particularly young Black people, like the Ferguson Uprising, or in Baltimore, or Charlotte, or Charleston, right? Like all of the places where our people have been uprising. So we want to live into that legacy of resistance, right? We want to become the movements that people will be writing about in the future because we stood up for our people right now. We want to use this spring, the next 90 days, to really jumpstart that off. Now, how many people are like, how the hell are we going to do that in a time where people are telling us to be socially, like physically distanced from each other? Are you confused about how to do that? Yo, you're not the only one. You are not alone. That's why many of us got on this call to figure it out together. So you're going to get into the breakout groups to do that. My beloved heartbeat, Vahisha Hassan, is going to talk to you about that. But before we do that, I'm going to give you some examples of stuff that we might be able to do, right? Because we don't want to call it Southern Spring and us not really turn up, right? Do you want to turn up together this spring? You want to organize your bases to turn up this spring? I certainly think it's going to be necessary, right? So some things that you might want to think about, and again, the frame that we're using is like, what are we going to do that is like action oriented towards resisting the systems of oppression that harm us? How are we going to be resisting, extractive economy that is harmful to our people and the planet? How are we going to resist the elected officials who are passing policies that are trash and like killing people slowly, right? And how are we going to resist the big industries, et cetera, that are harming our people? But also, what are we going to build, right? What are we going to build that is not dependent on anybody else but us, right? So let me tell you about some of the stuff that I'm seeing that we might be able to think about doing during Southern Spring. I heard some of my tribe spirit houses on the call. You're going to hear from them in one of the breakouts, but they're bringing people together virtually and in person to come up with lists about like who you could call because you can depend on them in a moment of harm or in a moment of crisis, right? They're building harm-free zones all over the city of Durham, North Carolina. That's an example of what you could build, right? We've got folks that are coming up with progressive policies that are not what our people should concede to, but what we've always deserved, like the Movement for Black Lives building the Vision for Black Lives policy platform, which relaunches in its second version this year. We've got people that like can't go to the Capitol anymore because either the people that we would be targeting aren't there, or because we can't physically be close anymore, right, for the foreseeable future. So those folks are figuring out how to email all of the elected official and their staffs to still make the demands that our people deserve. Stuff that people right now are utilizing, demands that people are now utilizing are like universal basic income for all of our people. Like how many of y'all have been seeing the narratives about everybody getting $1,000 check once a month, right? How many people believe we should have been getting that, right? Some people are thinking about doing things like fighting for universal health care, right? Like the crisis of this pandemic wouldn't be so scary in the US if we actually all had access, and if our healthcare providers were actually being taken care of, and their human rights and workers' rights were being respected. So think about the things that you can do that target elected officials virtually and in person in ways that we can do right now. Some folks like Trepania Bonner are organizing the South around the census, right? So what does it look like for us to have like everybody in our text thread being on the lookout for their census packet or sending them the link to make sure that our people get counted? What does it look like community defense and mutual aid and building that in this moment around the Southern Peoples Initiatives? What does it look like to tag every single corporation that is harming our communities and say, we see you and we're coming for you, right? What does it look like to see the National Bailout Collective bailing out Black mamas in the spring, right? What could you do to potentially get our people out of prisons, jails, and detention centers over the next 90 days, right? So there's 1,001 ideas, and I'm sure that I'm leaving out a bunch that you all could be rocking with your community right now. Now, don't get caught up. I know that some of y'all might be like, yo, I have these ideas, but I still got to get it through my organization or my community if we're going to do it. We know that. We totally know that. This is the space where you get to be innovative and come up with the ideas for actions that you might want to participate in that you could then take Brenda's advice to organize your people around. You could negotiate with your people to do, right? So again, think about the frame about what you could resist and what you can build, how you can do that regardless of the restrictions that come socially in this moment, because it is not impossible for us to make extreme victories, to win extreme victories for our people right now, to exploit the contradictions and to take advantage of them for the sake of the humanity of our people. So with that, I'm gonna toss it to Vahisha Hassan to tell us about these groups.
All right, I am too excited, which is my regular state. And I just wanna share in this moment how encouraged I feel that there are this many folks, this many heartbeats on the line that are deeply invested in this work and want to throw down all together. So to my Southerners, to my family, warriors, liberators, organizers, community, and my fave, just heartbeats, I send you a lot of greetings in love and solidarity. Vahisha Hassan here. Shout out to my Charlotte Uprising people. That's my native home. And then to my Memphis peeps, Memphis, Tennessee, where I currently live, and that Take Them Down 901, protect the consent decree, all the things that are great work that is being done on the ground here. So here we go. We're splitting. I know we enjoyed our time together. Don't distress. We're splitting into 7 breakout groups, and it's going to be across the 3 areas that Steph just laid out, the Southern Peoples Initiatives. So our visionary framework laid out is to build new social economy. So these are your overarching areas: new social economy, practice a people's democracy, and protect and defend our communities. So it was made clear in all of this that our issues overlap, and we want to make some time for like, how can we focus, have a focused conversation across these multiple front lines and how they are affected differently, because all of our issues are going to be there, but the impact and effect is different. We will be learning more about these 7 front lines and the impact of now the COVID-19, of the coronavirus. So if you heard, these things are, this was like 5 years and then all of the ancestors in the making, right? So these overarching areas of work are not new, and we always come at them at what we are currently facing. And so COVID-19 is just one of the things that we are facing. And so we're looking at that effect and that impact from these 3 areas. Again, new social economy, practice a people's democracy, protect and defend our communities. Those are the unchanging areas, but we're gonna look at it in our current state. So the list of the breakout groups are in the chat. They've been typed several different times, and they will continue to do so as I go through them. If you know already, you totally know where you want to be, or you know where you already be, then go ahead and put your name and the work group in the chat box. Your name will come up, but put your work group in the chat box, and all you need to put is the number. If you don't know which one you want to go to, like, listen, take a breath, right? If you are feeling overwhelmed in this moment, if you are feeling you know, a lot of stimulation, if you are feeling a lot of information is happening at one time, I just want you to take, let's all of us take, we talked about like this collective action. Our collective action right now is to take a breath. Take a good deep breath, practicing that breathing in 4 seconds, holding it 4 seconds, releasing it 4 seconds. And I say that because we are not gonna leave you, okay? We're not gonna leave you behind. You don't have to feel like you're gonna, somehow you do this wrong and you're not gonna get in the breakout group. We need you, we need us. We all gonna breathe through this together. We're breathing. Here we go. So under new social economy, group 1, work and sustainability. This group is to generate actions about work and the economy, the situation that's overlaid on existing poverty conditions and active mutual aid responses. I'm gonna say that again. And if, yep, and it's been typed in the chat. To generate actions about work and the economy, the situation overlaid on existing poverty conditions and active mutual aid response. What you may have not gotten so far is let's talk about the dope folks, the dope, super dope heartbeats that are gonna facilitate this process for you. Not teaching, right? Facilitating, because we wanna mine this wisdom. We wanna go through what we talked about earlier and what does it look like to collectively organize. So your facilitators are Jamar Rahim. Jamar works with the Mutual Aid Liberation Center in Atlanta, and Suzanne Farr, who is a longtime economic justice organizer and member of the National Council of Elders. So these are your peeps for group 1. Take a breath. Take a breath. Yes, yes. Good job. I see you. I see you breathing. Group 2. Still under the heading of new social economy, group 2, climate and land. This area is going to generate actions related to land protection, food production, and just transition, whatever, just having a just process for transition. So group 2, climate and land, to generate actions related to land protection, food production, and just transition. Who are your dope facilitators? Who are those folks you asked? I got you. Jennifer Crossland is an organizer with the Gulf Coast Center for Law and Policy, working in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and Texas. And if you haven't heard of Gulf Coast Center for Law and Policy, you need to write that down and look that up. Super dope work happening. So Jennifer Crossland, organizer with the Gulf Coast Center for Law and Policy, working in these areas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and Texas. Does that mean you have to be in one of those areas to be in group 2 under the new social economy? No. Let everyone say no. No. This is just the area that group works in. But we want, if you are interested in the topic and the actions and the motion in this area, that group is for you. All right, so we are leaving new social economy, but again, not leaving you. So we're gonna go to protect and defend. This is gonna be group 3, community safety. Group 3, community safety, to generate community-based actions to protect and defend families, immigrants, and refugees affected by state violence. Families, immigrants, and refugees affected by state violence. Guess who that covers? Everybody, all the bodies, okay? That's group 3. Who are your dope facilitators? Downtown Nikki Brown, okay. Nikki Brown, Nikki Brown with Spirit House in North Carolina. One of my favorite heartbeats, oh my goodness, that works on, as Ashley just said, the harm-free zones, and Glory Kalinko, who just lifts my spirit every time, just by the presence. Glory Kalinko is with Women Watch Africa, currently fighting ICE raids and anti-immigrant policy in Georgia. Do you have to be in Georgia to be a part of this group? No, no. It's just the area. So group 3, community safety, protect and defend families, immigrants, and refugees affected by state violence. All right, group 4, still under community safety, decarceration. This is to generate and coordinate actions to intervene on prisons, police, and detention crises. Generate and coordinate action to intervene on the prison, police, and detention crises. This is group 4, decarceration. Your dope facilitators are Zachary Crow, who is the director of Decarcerate. Is that Arizona? Arkansas? Which one is that? Somebody help me.
Arkansas.
Arkansas, thank you. Thank you. Zachary Crow is the director of Decarcerate Arkansas, working on ending cash bail and organizing community defense teams. Do you have to be in Arkansas? No, no. But you know what you do want to do? Generate and coordinate actions to intervene on prisons, police, and detention crises. There you go. So, still under protect and defend. Still under protect and defend. We're now at group 5, health and wellness. Health and wellness. To generate actions for healthcare interventions, reproductive justice, and body sovereignty. Group 5, health and wellness, generating actions for healthcare interventions, reproductive justice, and body sovereignty. Your dope facilitator is Shayla Walsh. Shayla is with the National Nurses United, the largest organization of registered nurses in the country, in this country. Shayla Walsh with the National Nurses United. All right, so we're taking a breath. You know why we're taking a breath? Because we're leaving. We're leaving protect and defend, but not leaving you. So we're moving on to people's democracy. We're almost there. People's democracy, overarching heading, Southern People's Initiative. Group 6, election and census protection. That's part of our current state, right? Election and census protections, group 6. This is to generate actions to support political engagement and power building. All of what we just got all kind of great training on earlier. To generate actions to support political engagement and power building, group 6, election and census protections. Who is our dope facilitator? Trapanya Bonner is with Crescent City Media Group and the Center for Civic Action, leading a multi-site campaign called #SouthCounts2020. #SouthCounts2020. Go do some of that good researching we talked about earlier, investigation. Look up all of these great people and the work that they're doing. So that's group 6, election and census protections. Now we are at the last group. We almost made it. Group 7, local governance to global solidarity. That's a lot of words. Group 7, local governance to global solidarity. So this is to generate actions to shift local decision makers and policies around the things we talked about, utilities, education, and safety, and to build infrastructure that's rooted in local knowledge, because there is power there, rooted in local knowledge, both in the US and with our global partnerships, because we need all of us. Our dope facilitator is Allende Summers and Stephanie Gilliard, and they are organizers and educators, guess with who? Our wonderful Project South. So that's group 7, local governance to global solidarity. Those are all of your options. They are all in the chat. So they are written, they are expressed verbally, and they are now available to you. If you have any questions, ask them in the chat, unmute yourself, but not about the process yet.